It was when we moved to the West Island. From Rosemount to the West Island, there were all those summer pools, you know, the summer pool leagues and stuff that they do. So we had joined a pool, and from there we did all the sports: swimming, diving, water polo, synchro, everything. Like started probably around 6, 7, I guess. Yeah, probably around there, just like kind of just at the summer pool level. And then we got into winter swimming after that, because from the summer pool program, they sort of said, oh, you guys are pretty good, you know, you should do winter swimming. And so my mom said, oh, okay, they can do winter swimming. So we joined winter swimming after that, and we joined Point Claire. And then we were winter swimmers for until, that was probably from 8 to 13 or 4, no, 8 to 13, I think I winter swam. We played in the West Island first, and it was fun. And then I think swimming had just gotten to be too much. Yeah, it just wasn't so fun, you know, anymore. And so Trina and I had both wanted to try something different than swimming, and Trina was really interested in the water polo, so she went to water polo. And at the time there was no DDO, so she went to camo. And I actually went to diving at DDO. So I did a year of diving, which, you know, halfway through I realized, okay, I am not a diver, like not for me. And then I started going a little bit to the pool with Trina, you know, every once in a while, come to one of her practices. She'd be like, come on, try it out, you know. So I would go to the practices with her, and I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. And Trina did a trip that year. I can't remember where. I want to say it was like Edmonton or Regina or something like that, where she got to take the airplane. I was like, whoa, you're traveling already after your first year? I'm like, man, this is it. I'm coming to water polo. So then the next year I joined the water polo. I mean, I started with them, but they were quite a strong program then as well, right? Like they had all the Deliers, and then Gislaine and all. Like there was a big senior program at that time still. And so Dan, he put us, I would go twice a week to camo and 3 times a week to, what's it called? Saint Michel. And I would play, because he wanted us playing lots of games. So we played cadet or whatever it was, or at that time with Saint Michel. I didn't like offense very much at the beginning, so I didn't. Yeah, I played a lot of defense. I was pretty good at defense. I didn't mind defense, but the offense part I didn't get until much later. So I got the offense part maybe probably the 2 years after I started. Yeah, so I must have started at 14, because it was when everyone was turning 16, and there was all the Sweet 16 parties, and I had negotiated with my mom. I wanted to stay out later at one of my friends' parties, and so she said, "Okay, you have a game today. For every goal you score, you can stay out half an hour later." So I was like, "Oh, okay." Because she knows I'm not gonna shoot the ball. I'm not gonna score. And I scored like 5 goals that day. I was like, "Oh yeah," and that's when I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, maybe offense isn't that hard." Yeah, so that was it. My mom had bribed with staying out later, so I got to stay out till like 2:30 in the morning. Like I think I wasn't ignored the first years, I guess, but I don't think I was high up on his list of priorities or anything. And then there was one practice where we had been given a swim set, and it was, I don't know, it was a tough one. It was like in 400s or something. We had to do a bunch of 400s, and I had lapped Mary Claude, who at the time was our fastest swimmer. And so I stopped, and Dan started yelling at me that, you're not done. You have to keep going, you know? And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done. And so when Mary Claude stopped, he asked her, he's like, did Cora beat you type of thing? Like, is it done? And she's like, yeah, she won. She got there first, you know? And so then Dan goes to me, he goes, oh, you just made the biggest mistake of your life. Yeah. And then from then on, I think he sort of noticed me more, and yeah, then I got pushed. Yeah. So I went and played, the 1 year at Horizonte, but then I went the following 3 years, I played with Holland for that nearest club, who they were fantastic at the time. They had like everybody on the national team, but I would only play the Champions Cup for them, like the big tournaments. Well, Europe back then, I mean, you got to remember, it's probably a lot easier today. Like, I think I really, like, it was a culture shock for me back then. But, and then also you're far away from your family, but you don't have like FaceTime or, even just calling was, a once a week type of thing, because you had to buy the phone, the international phone card. And then you had to, there were no cell phones at the time, no text messages, no emails, none of that existed. So it was pretty hard to be separated from my family, my sisters, who, you live day in, day out for so long, and then you kind of find yourself out. But it was cool. It was fun. It was good. That's where I got to meet good friend Bridget Gusterson, who played on another team in Catania. So we became good friends then, which then she ended up becoming one of the best players, the one who won the Olympics and stuff. So, yeah. So it was good. It wasn't bad, I think without her, it would have been tough. Definitely, I would have them look at themselves first. They need to be in it because they're passionate about the sport, and then not to be afraid, not to be afraid to push themselves, not to be afraid to make mistakes, not to be afraid of any of that, and just enjoy it. Because like, if you play with fear, then you're not going to go very far, so they just, yeah, they got to work hard, like really, really, really hard. Things are not given to you, but they can't play with any fear. They got to play with determination, and the things that they're bad at, then they got to make themselves good at. Like, it just can't be satisfied. Say, I'm a slow swimmer, but I'm a good shooter. So, I'm going to use my shot more than anything. No, fine. You're not a good swimmer right now. That doesn't mean you can't become a good swimmer, but you have to work at it. Yeah, you have a good shot, but now try to figure out different ways to do the shot, Like, I think it's like, you need to really push yourself, always be evolving, always learning, always watching. Like, yeah, you have to have a true passion. Like when you're playing in the game, you kind of get the feel of your opponent. You know what they're going to do to you, how they're going to hold you, where they're going to grab, when they're going to go, that sort of things. And then when you're the coach, you don't see those things that you do feel as a player, So sometimes the little kind of, I don't know how to say it, like the feel of the game almost. You don't have it as a coach. You see everything out. You see the tactics. You see all that sort of stuff that's happening, But that little feel that you get when you're a player, you don't have. And I miss having that, definitely, because I think that, yeah, that's where you can take advantage of your opponents once you know them, once you feel them. And so, yeah, as a coach, it's harder to see that, or a lot harder to see that. Well, I mean, for sure, qualifying for that first Olympics, like, I'm sure you remember that game like it was yesterday, you know, like just, yeah, like I remember that game very clearly. The mistake that I made in that game, I know that cost us a goal that tied the game, but then just getting it back, you know, like just erasing that mistake and getting the job done. So like to me, that was, yeah, that was a big highlight, obviously. Like that was a fun game. And then I think in 2003, when we finally broke our fifth place curse, and not 2003, 2001, in Fukuoka, Japan, at Worlds, where we broke our fifth place curse and came third. That was fun too. So there was a lot. There were a lot of good times. Also, that game that we played in California when we weren't supposed to play the game, they said, yeah, we'll let you go on, you know, when everybody was sick. And then we ended up having to play the game and we only had like 8 players total. And we won against the States in the States. That was good too. That was a good moment. You know, that was a real kind of the team getting together and saying, fine, we're going to prove you wrong.